Bienvenidos, señores y señores, to another episode of the Bleed Lows podcast. Estamos en vivo here in the carne asada. Let's get the business out of the way. This episode of the Bleed Lows podcast is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline is your number one source for the NBA and NHL playoffs this season. Every stat, every matchup, and even live odds while the games are being played. So when the game's over, head on over to our online casino and get in on a game of blackjack or poker or unwind with one of our over 150 slot games. Head to the website today to get in on the action. Don't forget to use the promo code BELIEVE, BLEAV, for your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet online. The game starts here. Bienvenidos, sangrones. As we can see, Michael Carrillo is on, Jose Ayala, Adrian Sermon's here, and look at that, La Princesa de Picolandia just came in right on cue. We're joined by Canelo, Carlos the Gambler. Let's get a quick update on Carlos's fantasy team. Who did you drop? Who pissed you off, Carlos? Who's making you happy? How is your fantasy baseball league going?
Yeah, making me happy is Trinan. Trinan's making me happy. He's getting me a lot of strikeouts, keeping the ERA really low, the whip. He's doing a great job. I dropped Hudson. I mentioned last week, but he's kind of recovered. I mean, he had a shaky little outing this on the Met series, but he did well. And then I dropped Pages. I couldn't take him any longer. I might bring him back. But I kept Hernandez. You'll see later on, he probably had one of the higher batting averages this road trip. So
who, Kike or Teoscar?
No, Teoscar. Oh, come on. Kike. You couldn't pay me to draft him on my team. No.
There we go. We're starting off the show. It's going to be a feisty carne asada tonight, guys. Canelo is here and Babyface is in the background. Princesa, I want to start off with you because I don't know if you noticed this, but I think you're very keen on the amount of anger that happened before the Doyers got to New York. It seemed like everyone was over the Doyers. The Doyers suck. Worst Christmas ever. Canceled the 3-ring circus. Did you feel that hate and how pissed off the people were that the Doyers had lost 5 in a row?
I did. I definitely felt it. I got messages about it. I got DMs about it. I had friends, family, and strangers all just canceling Christmas. Like you said, I can't believe it. It's the Reds. We suck. It was just awful. And I'm like, I was trying to channel my Bleed Los vibe and be like, it's gonna be okay. Everybody calm down. It's only May, dude. The Reds do suck, but thankfully the Mets suck too. So they're a great, slump buster, right? So everyone just needs to relax. Everyone needs to calm down. So much talent, right?
In the words of Justin Timberlake, it's gonna be May. Canelo, is it like what the La Princesa says is the ultimate slump buster? You guys know the story on slump busters, right? Like, you guys know what a slump buster is?
Yes.
Have you guys heard the Mark Grace story?
I'm gonna not talk about that.
You don't want me to tell that story?
Canelo, tell it. I'm not gonna tell it.
Are the Metropolitans the ultimate slump buster?
We were talking about before we went live, if I had to choose one or two MLB franchises not to either play for if I was a player or be a fan of if I had to choose, the Mets are one of those teams, unfortunately. I'm friends with a lot of Mets fans. Let me tell you, it is not a happy time in the metropolitan area. They were messaging me this entire series, especially during the doubleheaders where they've dropped that, that first game, and then the second game they get beat, and then today, the Dodgers come out with the 10 piece. So not a good time in Metsville right now. If you thought the Dodgers 5-game skid was bad, the Mets coming into the series was even worse. In their last 30 games entering this series, they were 10-20, and now they lost 3 more games to add on top of that. So I was never worried about the Dodgers. Like Alicia said, it's early. It's still not even June yet. We just got past Memorial Day, and despite them going 8-7 in their last 15 games, they still are on a 99 to 100 win pace, and it's just fans are mad just because we know the team that we have, we know the expectations that are on their shoulders. where we expect them to win every single ball game, but that's just not going to happen. And I think the quicker, some fans realize it, the better mood they'll be in for the rest of the season. That's not to say that they don't have holes, though, which we'll definitely get into this episode and over the next couple weeks, especially, with June coming up next week and the trade deadline coming up in the next couple weeks after that.
Alfonso, I see your question, and we're going to get to that later because that was something that we discussed off camera. Yes, Princesa.
I just want to tack on to what Cody just explained, and I can only imagine the messages you were getting, Canelo. But I too have a few Mets friends, and they shake their head because let's remind everybody, especially our Dodger fam, the Mets spend money. They spend a lot of money. So let's just focus. Let's have a little gratitude in our blue hearts and thank the Dodgers for spending money. I don't want to say the right way, but they figured it out. They, hopefully it keeps going this way. But just a reminder, we could be like the Mets. I'm just saying. Okay, go ahead.
And that's why I'm very grateful to the Mets, the Metropolitans. I'm going to send them a bread basket or, some flowers, because let me tell you, before the Dodgers showed up in Nueva York, it sucked watching games because, there was just, the offense was in the shitter. There was just, look, that no one will be able to explain this in baseball, how it's possible that a whole lineup will go ahead and just go into a slump simultaneously. But Carlos the Gambler, I want to go to you. What did you see in New York? Because for 7 innings, I was getting the hate messages from Dodger fans in that first game of that doubleheader saying, "We suck, man. What is the point of this?" And then all of a sudden the 8th inning came around with Chris Taylor's magical bunt, and all of a sudden they sweep the doubleheader. They win today, and everybody's got a different outlook in the Dodgers. What did you see? What was that change that happened?
So going back a little bit to the fans who were upset when the Dodgers were losing against the Reds, the fans who are passionate and they're upset, it's because the lack of execution, right? When we talked about before, getting a runner on third base, no outs, 1 out, and you can't score them, you can't bring them in. It's frustrating to watch that. These guys are better than that. You need a sac fly, you move the ball to the right side of the field to get the run across. And just like you just said, Juan, the bunt was the magic. That was it. That's all we need to do. And the interview after the game, Chris Taylor, he was told to bunt, right? And he even said, "Wow, it was pretty bad bunt. It wasn't that good." But luckily, things worked out because the Mets are, according to someone I heard, they're the worst team in MLB. So they misplay that Octavio misses the ball, he scores, he's safe, and ever since that moment, it's just been different. Like today's game, the way they tackled in a run, like I think in 3 different innings they tackled 1 run. That's what fans expect. We're not expecting like 5-6 runs every inning. 1 run every 2 innings. Hey, that's how you get the game going. They tied the game because Hernandez is our new Lance Lynn this year, and it probably won't be the team much longer. But he's that's like I said, that bunt was a magic moment for the Dodgers.
Look, you guys all know I'm the Prince of Darkness. But I'm going to start calling out people because a lot of you guys were goddamn Howard Coles. I had a bunch of Howard Coles texting me, sending me messages, saying everything. And you guys know I am critical, okay? But you guys made me look like the princess of positivity during this stretch where it was like, yes, I get it. It sucks, man. They're just not hitting it. It happens. But this season is so damn long. There are still 4 months left in this season. What is obvious to me is that this team, it's a roller coaster because now this is the second funk that they've gone through this season. They are up and down. And look, I'm seeing in the chat that there was a team meeting going on. If that went ahead and helped, that's all great. But I think it also helps that the Mets just have bad juju right now and they are going through it. And sometimes, like they say in basketball, you just need to see the ball go through the hoop and things will change. you had mentioned something, Carlos, and I want to get into it because it's the hot topic right now on Twitter, and that's what Jorge Lopez of the Mets. The rumor is he's going to get DFA tomorrow. So for those of you who didn't watch the game and didn't see what happened, he threw his glove into the stands. Now, I don't know how many of you have seen the audio or watched this video, and because some of these people are telling on themselves. Jorge Lopez is not a native English speaker. It is not his first language. I am telling you, I am convinced when I watch this video, and for those of you que hablan español in the chat, correct me if I'm wrong if you've seen the video. He did not say the Mets are the worst team in MLB. What he said to me, if you go back and listen to that video, is he said, I am the worst teammate in all of MLB. If the Mets want me here again, if they want me here, I'll know if they don't. So if any of you in the chat saw the video of him speaking, let me know, because there are other people who heard the same thing that I heard, that he had said teammate and not team. The issue is Jorge has an accent. So anybody in the chat want to back me up on that? If not, Princesa, did you see this video that we're talking about right now? You're on mute. Yeah, you're in the lead for the Daddy Duffy Award now. I just want you to know.
Sorry, I was trying to be polite and see what happens. I did not see it, and I'm gonna claim I have a soft brain. Just got back from vacation, so I'm still catching up. I did watch today's games, but I have not seen the video exactly nor listened to it. So I'm glad you're bringing that up, though. That's pretty important because there's a lot of baseball purists that will take that and run with it and vilify other athletes from out of the country.
Everything I've seen has the quote of him saying it is the worst. The Mets are the worst team in MLB, and I just don't think that's what that video says. Babyface, if you can find the video and you can upload it, let me know. Carlos, come on.
So I will say, I'll give him credit because he's had a pretty thick accent, and I'll give him credit for speaking in English. A lot of players opt not to for this particular reason. So I heard the same thing you heard. The unfortunate thing is, if you watch the whole entire interview, at the very end, that same reporter says, "Hey, I just want to clarify that you said the Mets are the worst team," and then he said something like, "You could tell, you could see for yourself." And so he had a chance to kind of like redeem himself, but he didn't. He chose to just go along with the narrative that they were saying, because I also heard that he said teammate too initially. But the whole interview, he was frustrated. I get the passion in baseball, and the thing that you said, as Dodger, hardcore Dodger fans, we take everything. We're so emotional about the game. And when they lose 5 games, we're like, oh my God, they suck. They can't hit. They can't do this. I get that. And can you imagine some players, how emotional they get? And this poor guy everything that could go wrong went wrong. But I will say this, Bryce Harper threw his helmet over the fence once. And instead of him getting vilified, he was like, oh my God, this little kid got the helmet. And it's like, so there's like a double standard, because the Phillies are the Phillies and the Mets are the Mets. I get that, but you know what, I think the social media has gone too hard on this poor guy right now, and hopefully he'll find another job, but we'll see.
That's an excellent point that you bring up, Carlos, because I think the reason why he's getting DFA, because the guy's ERA is under 4. It's in the mid 3s, right? I think the reason why he's going to get DFA'd is because he doubled down. And it was because they asked him if he regretted it, and he said no. And then there was the clarification, and he said, look, now again, there may be a little disconnect there in terms of the language, but for me, the second time is he's including himself in there. He's being critical of not only himself, but of the team. But Canelo, I want to go to you. I get the act of throwing a glove in the stand is probably, it's a non-negotiable, but it's not like he chucked it at somebody. He threw it up out of frustration. What were your thoughts on him when he threw the glove into the stands?
Honestly, those gloves aren't cheap. So to know that he has enough money to just have like at least 4 of those gloves on hand to just throw one in the stands, awesome for him. awesome for the fan that probably caught it, because if you get any type of memorabilia, if I get a foul ball, I'm having a good day at the ballpark. You get a whole
The
glove.
fan already posted the picture of the glove, by the way.
If you get a glove and you're going home with that, I mean, I call that a win in a day. He just made that fan's day. If it was a Mets fan that caught it, even better, because they had a horrible week. So I understand why a lot of people are, mad about the whole situation. In terms of how I would have responded, I used to be like a type of hothead, especially in my athletic playing days, and I kind of got humbled really quick when you started playing at a higher level, whether it's high school or college. And you kind of learn to give the same response, where it's like, just be like, all right, I didn't play good today. Next time I hope to be better. I think that's just the PR way I was trained my entire life, and not everyone was brought up that way. But he was not only critical of himself, he was just critical of the team, which I think the Mets kind of need somebody to say that about them right now, because it seems like if they ask any of their superstar players, whether it's Pete Alonso or Francisco Lindor, they kind of just give the same wishy-washy answer. And I feel like if you're a team like the Mets, like I said, they are coming into the series, they were 10-20 in their last 30 games. They are a team that technically has the highest payroll in baseball this year, despite most around baseball predicting them to either barely make the playoffs or miss the playoffs entirely, and they're definitely on that route right now. So I think he's getting a bad rap. Carlos brings up a really good point. Bryce Harper, I love the way Bryce Harper plays. I love his mentality, but he also has had some of these moments throughout his entire career, and that's where a lot of fans have been 50-50 on him, but especially that helmet throw. Was that this year or last year? That was, MLB was posting that and like promoting that, and this guy's not going to get the same treatment. However, for him, like Juan, you said, he's had a really good year. If the Mets want to DFA somebody for some comments they made about the team, if a team like the Braves wants to swoop this guy up, I'm sure he'll shoot up at the opportunity. So that could be their loss, because sometimes I feel like you have to just swallow some of these pills, even if it's coming at your organization, because at the end of the day, you're really going to risk losing a decent pitcher. Some other team will definitely take a chance on.
Yeah, no, I sit there and, as one of these people that are in the clubhouse and have to talk to these guys after a game, especially if it's a game that they lose or it's a tough game, it's something that I'm not crazy about, because when you're emotional and someone sticks a microphone in your face and basically, even though you're not saying it, but what you're saying is, why did you suck today? I don't know too many people that are going to have a calm, rational response to that. And I think these are two examples that we've seen in the past week about how maybe, I get it, it's a sport, and in the end, it's all about results. But Princesa, did you see what Dave Roberts did with Johan Ramirez? I know Carlos the Gambler hates anybody whose last name is Ramirez, and that's why we have this great banter on the show. But you saw what Dave Roberts did on the mound to Johan Ramirez. Your thoughts on that?
I did, and as I don't know, as like a mama, and these young players, and I felt that, and I applaud Dave for that. And we don't get to see that often. I mean, managers nowadays, they're by the book, right, or by the computer. So I liked seeing the emotion, and apparently it worked, did it not? At least for that moment. So I can see in the comments, though, our Bleedlos fam, they're going off calling Dave sus. So I'm not going to comment on that. I'm just going to say, speaking for myself, I liked it. I'm like, the more love, the more cariño we have, the more care, especially if it works, I'm all for it. I didn't have any problem with that at all. I'm probably in the minority, but so what?
Look, I got all the messages that he was going to be DFA'd by the end of the inning, but I know you guys are going to shoot me, but you guys saw him pitch in this series. When he actually had control, he had some movement on his pitches that made him look filthy. The problem was, especially that game on Friday with the Reds, was that guy had no clue where that ball was going.
No control.
And as I told my wife, as we were walking to the Boiling Crab on Friday, I said, somebody in the Dodgers is going to wear it. And they had a responsibility. I think the Dodgers had a responsibility to get that guy out of the game, because he could have really hurt somebody on the Reds. Whether it was intentional or not, this dude throws hard. If it goes at somebody's head, look, somebody on the Dodgers is going to wear it, whether it's an accident or not, because he hit 2 guys in that inning. I mean, he only threw 1 strike in that inning. So, do you guys, Canelo, Babyface, Carlos, do you guys want to jump in on Roberts hugging it out with Johan and telling him it's okay, we can't DFA you yet, but once we can? I mean, he was like Michael Corleone. He pulled a freaking Michael Corleone when he hugs Fredo. He hugs Fredo, and he basically looks at Al Neri and is like, "Dude, once my mom dies, I want this motherfucker dead." You know, that's what I feel is like what's happening here.
Is that what you feel? I felt like he was calming him down and being like a papa bear. Am I wrong?
I mean,
No,
but he's probably just saying, look, you got to get the command straight. Today wasn't your day. Next week, you may not even be on this team, but I'm going to console you here. Because let's be honest,
no way
Phillips is going to be
Dave
activated
Roberts-
on Friday, and this is the first guy that they're going to look at right now. And I agree with you, Juan. When he has control, he does have some movement. There's a reason why the Dodgers decided to pick him up from, I believe, the Marlins. And there's a reason why he's pitching a lot of these innings right now. And, you know, give credit to the Dodgers bullpen. They're still ranked 3rd in ERA in terms of relief pitching, which is remarkable for, you know, the round table of arms that they've gone through. And they haven't even had their cornerstone pieces for more than, you know, a couple weeks at a time. They're still missing Brazier. They're still missing Kelly. They're still missing Gratterall, who we don't know is going to come back. But, you know, this guy, you know, I think it gives credit to Dave Roberts and the type of manager he is. He's a very cultural first guy, a very players first guy. Some fans don't like that just because they think at the end of the day that's just being too easy on these guys. But I've also seen Dave Roberts when he looked pissed off after a loss, and I know he holds, you know, these wins and losses at his own, you know, he'll hold himself accountable for those as well. So I just think there's more stuff that the fans have to see, but you don't always see this stuff with the fans' eyes.
Carlos, do you agree? Like, Nando's coming in here with the heat saying, imagine Dave Roberts doing that in a playoff game. It's not okay. It's soft. Carlos, what did you think about what Dave Roberts did there?
Can you imagine? Tommy Lasorda was turning in his grave, man. Watching
you guys, I don't know. Look, I know you guys are a little, you know, younger here on the chat, but go YouTube the 1977 World Series when Tommy Lasorda goes out and pulls out Babyface. You know what his name was? Was his name? I think his last name was Lau or
right? It is.
Yeah, Lau, right?
Yeah,
okay, so you know what I'm talking about, right, Carlos?
Yeah, I saw it. Yeah.
And he's like MFing him the whole time, saying, "Hey, you gave up 4 fucking hits. What do you think? I got to do what's right for the team. I'm pulling your. Oh, come on, Tommy, I can get this guy out. He's ready." He's like, "No, you can't get anybody fucking out. You just gave up 4 fucking like it is just F-bomb after F-bomb." Yeah, I don't see Lasorda hugging a pitcher on the mound. Go ahead, Princesa. And then I'll go back to you, Carlos.
You guys are killing me because those players are not today's players. Today's player, we all know this, that I'm not going to use the word soft. I will not, because they're just different. And we all have to grow and evolve and adjust. We can live in the past and remember how Lasorda was, you know, ass patter. Like, I get that. But that's not today's players. I mean, I could even cross from baseball into NBA, Kyrie Irving. I mean, there's all kinds of young players that deal with things that we all need to respect and understand. And I applaud Dave Roberts for seeing what his player needed on the mound and giving it. And it worked. So I know people our fam doesn't want to see that in the postseason, but let's just get to the postseason first. I'm trying to focus on today, bro. Like, we finally are winning again. Like, let's not even go there. That's all I'm saying. Carlos,
to be fair, Roberts didn't console Kershaw in the NLDS last year when he gave up like 8 runs in the first inning. So I don't think Roberts will do that.
Well,
look,
Kershaw,
there is a yeah, okay.
Different. Kershaw's not from this era. Kershaw is. Have you guys read that new book about Kershaw?
Yeah, I've read that book.
Yeah, so we could talk about that another time. But he's just built differently, especially than you cannot compare Kershaw to Hernandez. And I applaud Dave Roberts for focusing on the player and the problem right in front of him. I don't see a problem with that at all. I love it.
Carlos, I want to go to you, but I just want to add this maybe what we need a little bit more mentality. There is a great picture, and I think you've seen this one, Babyface, when Adrian Gonzalez is basically mad dogging. I think he's yelling at Don Mattingly. It was a picture from the playoffs against the Cardinals. If anybody in the chat remembers this, it is one of the greatest pictures because Adrian Gonzalez looks like he wants to strangle Don Mattingly. And I've never identified with a Dodger more in my life than in that picture. If I find that picture, I'm going to post it on my social media and make sure you follow it. Babyface, do you remember that picture? When Adrian goes, and because a lot of people feel it's like, what are you leaving Kershaw in for? Pull him. They think that's what Adrian Gonzalez is yelling at Don Mattingly. Do you remember that picture, Babyface?
Yeah, I think so. It's like a side shot. It's kind of just like looking at him or something like that, right? Yeah.
No, it looks adamant. I'm going to post it. I'm going to find it. Okay, Carlos.
Okay.
Back to you. Sorry, my friend.
It's okay. So I agree with Alicia. The players are built differently now. If Tommy had come out to talk to Ramirez, that like he talked to that video you're mentioning, the guy would probably break down right there and start crying. They probably would take him out. But I agree. You know what Roberts did. I mean, it was. I was impressed. I was like, wow, this guy. You know what a nice guy. You know, because this guy had hit 4 batters in his last 2 outings with the Reds and had walked like 3 of them or something, and got the bases loaded, and it worked. He got it. He got the out. Today he pitched, right? I think today he pitched, and he got an inning. And after he came off the mound, he gave Roberts another hug, and Roberts was just smiling, you know, happy for him. But don't forget that Ramirez, your cousin, he's the same guy that threw behind Hoskins. Remember when Hoskins slid into the second baseman for the Mets earlier this season? He's the one that threw behind him and got ejected for throwing behind Hoskins as retaliation for the slide. So look,
our asses were in the jackpot, man. What are we going to do? Our asses are in the jackpot. It's one of the greatest videos ever. I just saw it again yesterday when you're talking about a slide into second. The video when Syndergaard threw at Canelo's hero, the Silver Fox. It's one of those greats. That's why I think they should mic umpires. Babyface, do you want to come in on this? You want to add anything to Roberts, you know, using some psychology on here on his players?
I mean, I think you guys nailed it. I mean, the thing is too, as a manager, you need to know your players, right? You know how this player is, you know how this player is going to react. And what he did with Ramirez isn't necessarily the same thing that he's going to do with a Bruce Dark-Gratterall or somebody, right? He knows these individual players, and he knows how this guy was feeling there on the mound. And what good was it if he was go out there and be like Tommy Lasorda and yell at him and, dude, you can't do anything right, you know, get off the mound. What good would have that done, right? It brings in a new reliever, right? He calmed him down. He told him what he needed to hear. He got the out. And it helped him for his psyche for that game. And let's see how it goes forward. Today, he got clean inning, right? He got the outs there. He even said it. He even said that the way that Roberts talked to him, nobody ever talked to him like that. He was the best manager he'd ever had. So he made an impression on this young player already. So, and that's the thing that people don't get. Like, they want to see an old school way of managing. And I get that because I'm from that old school era too. But I also get it. These players aren't the same that they were back in 70s and 80s. Completely different game. So I understand that that's why I understand when people respect Roberts in that way and say Roberts is a people player, you know, he connects with his players, and he's a totally different manager than Tommy Lasorda. So you can't compare those two because they're completely different eras. And you know, to me, like I said, I think Roberts does a great job for what he does, and you say the same thing with Lasorda. So it's completely different generations of managers, and that's what it is.
I want to get your guys' opinion on this because this is going to piss off La Princesa, but because I am the Prince of Darkness and shit, the Dodgers just swept the Mets, so I'm feeling myself. It's something going on between James Paxton and the coaching staff with the Dodgers, because you know, look, you guys know in our group chat, I was pretty adamant on the Reds game on Friday that I felt they should have left James Paxton in to try to get out of that inning. There were 2 outs, a runner on first. It's freaking May, okay? If you end up losing the game, and they ended up losing the game anyways. If you end up losing the game, you lose the game. But I think you owed it to James Paxton, as Carlos the Gambler always tells me. He's the best pitcher the Dodgers had up until that point. He's hit a little bit of But today, when they pulled him, and I get it, this was all part of the plan because he was pitching on 4 days rest. They were only going to limit his number of pitches. But when they pulled him after 3, he didn't look too happy to me. Canelo, am I reading too much into the fact that I don't think he's happy the way he's being used by this coaching staff? And I go back to other examples. Max Scherzer has said things in the past. There have been other Dodger pitchers that have been critical on how they are used by this coaching staff.
Yeah, I don't think you're out of line there. Looking at him, I was kind of surprised that he came out today as early as he did, only 3 innings pitched, at the start against the Reds as well. Even though he was kind of battling in that one, I still thought he had a little bit of leeway to get not only out of that inning, but potentially go another, inning entirely to, help the bullpen out. You got to remember, this guy's on a 1-year commitment. If they want to pitch him until his arm falls off and they don't want to re-sign him, so be it. That's fine. They get whatever they needed out of him this season. I understand right now they're probably kind of do that, that phrase I've been saying, load management with him because he is a veteran starter. But when you're looking at the outlook in this team by August and September, if everybody's coming back and healthy, James Paxton is literally the odd man out. Carlos and I like the joke saying, yeah, up in that point, he's the best. He has the best ERA on the staff. But that's because they've been very adamant on making sure that he doesn't face the lineup 3 times. He doesn't go deep into the game. They get him to go 4 or 5 innings, and then they go straight to the bullpen. Where I feel like the other starters, we see Gavin Stone go into the 7th inning regularly. We've seen Tyler Glasnow go into the 7th and 8th inning multiple times this year. I just think they have a plan for, Paxton, and he is one of those older guys. He is a league veteran. He's been around for a while. He just may not be happy with the direction they're going. But we're talking about in a couple weeks, once Bobby Miller's activated, we're talking about a roster crunch. Someone's going to be the odd man out. I've seen some people say Gavin Stone. I think his most recent start against the Mets pretty much destroyed that argument. So it's really just going to be, are they going to IL somebody? And is James Paxton, going to be that guy?
Did you guys see Michael Carrillo's comment?
Yeah. Go ahead, Princesa. I that's where I was going. Go ahead.
Michael Carrillo says they should be riding Paxton like a rented car. Dang.
Look,
look.
Canelo laid it out. I mean, if by the end of the season, if he's still pitching in the starting rotation, I know you love him, Carlos, but he's not going to be in the playoff rotation. If these guys keep pitching the way he's pitching, he's not. And then somebody sent me a message saying, hey, well, what if we put him in the bullpen? And I was just like, no, that's a pass for me, bro. Have you seen his issues with walking? That's the last thing I want, is to bring in a reliever who's going to start walking hitters. So I agree with what Michael Carrillo was saying. It's like, ride him until the wheels come off, because I don't understand the approach, but I feel like he is starting to get frustrated, because that shot of him in the dugout in that Reds game, especially when things went left, I felt like he was literally saying, really? You took me out for this? You didn't think I could get one more out? And I get it. He was at 90-something pitches, but it's like, it's May. Why wouldn't you just let him see if he could get out of it? Carlos, am I making a mountain out of a mole here? No pasa nada, no hay bronca with Paxton and the rest of the Dodgers coaching staff?
I had read somewhere that he was scheduled to just pitch 65 to 75 pitches because of the 4-day rest. So I read that. You know what? But if what you guys are saying, what Michael's saying, if the Dodgers have no intention of including this guy in the postseason roster, then he's right. Pitch this guy until his arm falls off, unfortunately, because or make him a trade chip to get something else that you really want. Because, I mean, I don't think he was. I don't know. I didn't look. I didn't see that he was frustrated. He was on the rail after with Chris Taylor. So look, it's like I said, if they don't really want the guy, I think he still has some good stuff. He's a good 5th starter. He's probably the best 5th starter in all of MLB. So if they don't want him, let him go. If he's not happy, so before he ends up throwing his glove over the fence and says this is the worst team I ever played for. So
I want to segue to, I know a lot of people are happy about this. Princesa, have you gotten the Miguel Vargas is back? Miguel Vargas is here to stay messages yet? Miguel Vargas has had 2 good games back to back. And as a result, probably when he goes back and then the Dodgers play the Rockies on Friday, Miguel Vargas probably won't play because that's usually what happens. If you play good games, you ride the bench. What have you been seeing with Miguel Vargas, or like what are your hopes for Miguel Vargas in terms of, do you think he's going to be here much longer?
Now, I know the Prince of Darkness was being sarcastic when he said they're gonna bench him. I get it. They use all of the number crunching to sit players, to bring players up. I'm always cheering and pulling for the guys, especially the young guys. And it seems like Mookie and a lot of the players just have a soft spot in their heart for Vargas. So I feel like collectively, all of us want Vargas to be there and continue to be there. But I got a little bit like, when you just said, Juan, he did well for 2 games. How many games are in the season? I mean, that's where we're at. I'm not being mean, I try to be sunshine. I'm just trying to keep my emotions level about Vargas because of that. It's a long season. Yes, I'm pulling for him. Yes, I'd love to see him there, but am I counting on it? Am I now going to go buy his jersey? Like, no, I'm being level. I'm trying to keep my emotions in check. Am I wrong, guys? Like,
Canelo, what are you seeing from Vargas?
I mean, I'm not, I like to joke around, he may be back. I don't know, guys. Get the stock. Don't buy his jersey. He's had 2 numbers in 2 different seasons. So hold off on that front. I think if you're the Dodgers and you're a fan and you're the organization, you kind of want Vargas to start, blossoming into the prospect that we all thought he was going to be. I really thought the hand injury definitely impacted his entire play in the first half of last season where, he still had a good eye, but he just wasn't really getting the contact and the slugging numbers that he was getting in AAA. And this season he got off to a really good start in OKC. It warranted a call up once Max Muncy was placed on the IL. And I think that's the big thing here is that if Chris Taylor is going to continue to struggle, if Lux is going to continue to struggle, you got to start implementing, Vargas in the lineup if he's going to start hitting well. And I like to call him JD Martinez light just because I feel like their swings are so very similar from the right-handed batter's box. Vargas, when he's on, he hits gaps. He is a very gap hitter, not so much of a home run hitter, but he has the ability to just slap, doubles, whether it's to the right field gap or to the left field gap. That's when he's on, and he looked really comfortable today. That home run that he hit yesterday kind of looked effortless off his swing, and I feel like that's the swing he's looking for. I think the past 3 games, at least, his plate discipline has been really good, and today he got rung up on a ball that was like 3 inches high.
Yeah.
But that was a really good at bat from him, something that I didn't see at all last year, despite him having good plate discipline all of spring training because he wasn't able to swing at all. I think the big thing here is that the Dodgers are going to need somebody to step up in the absence of Max Muncy because I was under the understanding, with the oblique injury, once Robert said, oh yeah, 1-2 weeks time and we'll get him back, we're going to hopefully he starts swinging by the end of the week. That has not happened. He still hasn't swung a bat. Juan, I believe you mentioned it before, oblique injuries, they're like a dime in a dozen. It could either be a couple weeks, a month, or potentially a season-ending thing. And Muncy not even swinging a bat yet makes it sound like he's probably not going to be back until maybe the end of June if I had to put my finger on it. So I think Vargas would be the ideal candidate, a guy who's played third base, a guy who's playing left field right now. Hopefully, if you're the Dodgers and you want to solve some of these problems early, you want to put Vargas into that role because I think the absence of Muncy is the reason why the Dodgers have been kind of on the skid that they are because since he's been gone and when Muncy isn't in the lineup, they're only 10-7 on the year with a 588 winning percentage, which is below when he's in the lineup. Muncy, they say it's not good roster construction when you have one guy that you're depending on your lineup, but he batting in that 5th or 6th spot in the order gives them a lot of depth in the lineup. So the Dodgers are going to need to not only replace him, but they're going to have to try to get production, from these other players that aren't giving it for them. But I hope Vargas starts to hit well.
You know, it's interesting that you make the comp to JD Martinez. Babyface, correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't Miguel tell us last year that in the offseason he worked a lot with JD Martinez?
Yeah, he was working with them in Miami. They're both from out there, so they're working in the off season.
So good for you. You get a gold star, Canelo. That's some good analysis right there. Carlos, I know it's starting to get. What the hell's going on over here? Carlos, it's starting to get crowded in the outfield in terms of this. I know everybody thinks that the magical bunt of Chris Taylor is going to turn his season around. And I think you had the numbers to say that he had become like one of the hottest Dodger hitters during that losing streak. But how are the Dodgers going to balance giving, Miguel Vargas playing time? Because I know the Princesa thinks I'm kidding. I am not. I think he's going to sit on Friday. I don't think he's going to play. Watch. There will be someone else in left field.
He'll play like one game in that series.
Right, babyface? Like,
I don't know. Isn't it pitcher to batter, like righty, lefty? Like that's what I thought. What the main concern is. I don't know who's pitching though, so I can't confirm.
But Carlos, how would you balance that when okay, we got to get Vargas at bats, and I still got to find a way to see if I can get Chris Taylor to turn his season around. Like, what do they do there?
I mean, there's a few factors. One factor is, like Cody was saying, I read too that Muncy's not even taking swings right now. So how long is he really out for? He could be out another month or so before he comes back. He's got to rehab, do some minor league games. But they're both right-handed batters. I say you got to play the hot hand. In the very small sample size, he was 2 for 6 in the road trip. He's batting .333, but he did strike out 3 times. One of the strikeouts, like Cody mentioned too, was like the ghost of Angel Hernandez coming to life, and he struck him out on the bad pitch. But I just think that you got to play the hot hand, and if you want to give this kid a chance, or if he's going to be also another trade chip, then you got to keep playing him. And hopefully he does well so that he can increase his value. And then this guy is going to be the one that's going to be gone. Because DFA Chris Taylor is not realistic. I mean, as much as fans everywhere on social media write this, it's not going to happen. Dodgers not just going to throw away $30 million, whatever's left on his contract. That's a lot of money. And who's going to take his contract? Dodgers will have to pick up a big chunk of his contract and drop money and Taylor. So that's probably not going to happen. I just think you got to play the hot hand. I think if we're playing, it's something that you guys reiterate all the time. It's like, it's only May. So do the games matter or they don't matter? If they don't matter, then just play whoever you want to play and just hopefully the best outcome happens. But if you really want to win the games, then you got to play that hot hand. So, I mean, this is why, Freeman, Roberts, they get paid the big bucks to make these calls. And, and we're here telling him, hey, this is the way it should be done, but they're not going to listen to us.
For those of you in the chat, we got a lot of good comments coming in there. The way you get moved up to the front of the line is if you can drop us a super chat, you go to the front of the line. So just as a reminder there, if you want to support the show. Someone brought this up on the chat, and this was a conversation that actually we were having off the air before we went on the air. And that was separating Federico and Shohei in the lineup. Now, the Dodgers are creatures of habit. They do what they do for a reason. I know this is a fantasy land proposition question because I don't think they would ever do it. But Canelo, would you see the Dodgers separating Shohei and Friedman? Would that benefit the lineup? I know there's been many times that people have sent me messages saying, hey, Juan, if we move some of these guys who are struggling up in the lineup and they would see better pitches because they are surrounded by Mookie or they're surrounded by Shohei or Federico, would that make the lineup longer? I don't know the answer to that. Canelo, is that rational?
Yeah, I think once you start to see the slump they were in for the past, week, you start saying, hey, should some guys move down in the order? A lot of people were giving Freddie Freeman a lot of, slack saying, maybe it's time that they move him down the lineup. That way he can see more pitches, because clearly they're not giving him stuff to hit because, they'd rather attack the people behind him. So I don't know. I would be open to it just because of the season Will Smith is having. He's, the forgotten, stepchild. I feel like we're forgetting of how good of a hitter he really is. And in terms of facing left-handed pitching, he's on a whole nother playing field where he is just one of the probably best hitters against lefties. So I would say maybe if you have your left-handed lineup, you would want to try to get Will Smith, I would say maybe higher in the lineup. Maybe you want to break up those lefties. Carlos brought up off the air, like, guys are attacking the Dodgers specifically, with the way the lineup is set. And when you have back-to-back lefties, and I know Shohei Ohtani and Freddie Freeman are like all-star MVPs, they still have holes in their swing that these pitchers, these major league ready pitchers, can attack and exploit. So I think if the Dodgers want to get creative, throughout the season, they could. Do I anticipate them doing that? No, just because, my antithesis to that is saying your top three guys, you want to get the most at-bats. And while the Dodgers should be going around the lineup at least, more than 3 times every single game, sometimes you're going to be in a pitching duel when they only get 3 at-bats. And do you want, Ohtani getting that 3rd at-bat, or do you want, Smith to come up with the game on the line? I mean, Dodger fans like me, I could go either way just because I've seen them both come up in clutch moments. But I think the Dodgers are still going to roll the dice with, Betts, Ohtani, Freeman, probably for 95% of the season, unless something drastic changes and Will Smith starts hitting over like 350 and then they have to make a change.
Carlos, the fact that they swept the Metropolitans, does that mean the lineup is fine? We don't need to mess with it?
No, I totally think that they should mess with it. What happened when they set out Ohtani, I think, in the second game of the doubleheader, right? Will Smith stepped up to be the second batter and hits a home run in his first at-bat. Will Smith, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, my numbers say they show Will Smith was 6 for 23, and 5 of those 6 hits were home runs, and 1 was a double. I think
he was. You know what? He was going through it because you guys remember when he was hitting 350, and I get it that Will Smith is probably not a 350 hitter, but
right.
he's dropped significantly. I think his batting average now is what is it, 280? Somebody check me on that.
290 something, right? I think it's
okay. Yeah. So you were saying, go ahead.
Yeah. So no, I do think that the league is starting to catch up on the Dodgers, and what they're doing is a lot of games they'll have a bullpen guy start the game, and he'll be a lefty, and he's okay giving up a single to Betts, and then he faces Ohtani and Freeman back to back, and they kind of usually get out, and then whoever's next is big deal. I think it should go like we were talking off air earlier. We were saying that Dodgers are so by the statistics by they're playing the numbers on lefty righty matchups and stuff. So then just go right left, so no one can just go and say, oh, it's gonna be a right-handed pitcher and they're gonna struggle, or it's only gonna be a left-handed pitcher and they're gonna struggle. Mix it up like that. I don't think it hurts the lineup. I don't think in 3 at bats, and maybe the top 2 get 4. I don't think that hurts the team. I think that's fine. You should win the game by then, So I would say, if I had it my way, it would be Betts, Freeman, Smith, Ohtani, Hernandez, Lux, the top 6 right there, and then you can keep going down the line with left, right, left, and you're never giving the pitcher or any manager the opportunity to bring a bullpen guy just to face 2 lefties in a row or 2 righties in a row.
Princesa Michael Carrillo says the true test is if what this team's going to do against the Yankees. That's coming up. That's right around the corner. Are you excited about the Doyers and the Yankees, especially this Doyer team going in to Yankee Stadium?
Yes, I am excited. And yes, because this is going to be the first, I don't know, it is the first. I just feel like the Dodgers haven't played anybody that's really been dominant in MLB. Am I wrong? Like,
That's a good question.
I don't think they've played anyone that's dominating. So to lose to the Reds and then beat the Mets, yeah, I want to win games. I go back to it's a long season, though. I don't put too much weight on beating the Mets. And we beat the Reds at home, but we go there. It's all confusing if you just glance at who we're playing and the numbers and the bottom of our lineups killing us and Mookie's errors are killing us. Like there's so much to be concerned about. So yes, I'm kind of jacked for the Yankees. I love hating the Yankees. They hate us. The only time I've ever almost had an altercation at Dodger Stadium is with a Yankee fan who came here to watch her Yankees. She was a transplant. But yeah, go back to the West Side, bro. Like just awful, awful. I wish I could go. I have a lot of friends going. I'm sure you guys do too, because Pantone has a big group trying to take over Yankee Stadium. So I'm very much looking forward to it. And I might take it a little personal after that one weekend. Yeah.
What I find fascinating is whoever is the schedule maker, I think needs to be drawn and quartered or, put in the corner, because to have the Dodgers go on the East Coast to play the Metropolitans, then come back to LA to play 3 games against the Rockies, and then talk about a test. Babyface, correct me if I'm wrong. They're going to go to Pittsburgh and they're going to face Jones and Skeens, and then they're going to go to face the Yankees. Yes, but he says that.
But they get the Rockies here before they take off. That's kind of a soft, like, again.
I used to think that, and then I'm old enough to remember what happened to the Doyers in Cincinnati. So I'm not confident when going back to LA to face the Rockies. I'm not. But
fair.
Schedule, I don't think the schedule is doing the Dodgers any favors to go across country twice. I really don't understand that. One of the things I know that Babyface, you got to talk to Bobby Miller on Sunday. He had a rehab start in Rancho. What can you tell us? What did Bobby have to say?
Yeah, I mean, I think he looked pretty good. I mean, he said he felt great coming out of it, and that was the most important thing, his health wise, how he came out of it. And he gave up 3 runs, but I was seeing kind of people saying like, oh, it wasn't such a great start because he gave 3. To be fair, there was a play where it was popped up and the first baseman lost the ball in the sun, and basically when he dropped it, I believe a run came in on that, and then so it kind of extended his inning right there. So it wasn't like 3 runs and it was completely bad or whatever, but it was kind of there was a misplay on there. They ruled it as a hit. So I mean, I thought overall he did pretty good. He was hitting 99. I mean, he looked good. 3 innings. His next one should be like 4. So he's right on the cusp. I think probably he might do maybe 1 or 2, and then we'll see him probably right back up, sometime in June.
Canelo, you hinted at it. There's going to be a numbers crunch with Bobby Miller comes back. I know you don't think Gavin Stone should, and I get that Gavin Stone has the options. So Phantom IL, is that the route you think it's going to go?
I feel like it has to, and I'll give you the numbers on why I think Gavin Stone 100% has earned his right to stay on the team and stay in the rotation. Juan, we talked a little bit back where we were arguing and debating whether if Gavin Stone was the Dodgers' best rookie pitcher this year, and I still think he has shown that he is the Dodgers' best rookie starter this year. No offense to Yamamoto, I just feel like he hasn't put it all together yet. I remember last year when I was on here early on when we were talking about, why is Gavin Stone not succeeding, why Bobby Miller is. And I said Bobby Miller, it's because at the time he had a true 4 to 5 pitch mix, and Gavin Stone did not. He literally was a 2-pitch pitcher going primarily with a sinker and a changeup, and he didn't have any other off-speed pitches to help him out. Now, just looking at his Baseball Savant page, my man must have heard my words or heard what everybody else was criticizing him for, because he has 6 pitches on Baseball Savant right now. He throws the changeup majority of the time, 26%. He's got the sinker that the Dodgers have been notoriously known, especially this season, to start giving lessons on. And Fabian Ardaya from The Athletic wrote an article about that today, how the Dodgers are one of the best, in terms of the coaching staff, at pitching these guys to throw a sinker, and it's worked out really well for all the guys that have picked it up. He has his 4-seam fastball he throws 23% of the time. He implemented a slider that he throws around 12%, and he still has a cutter that he throws 8%. And the one that he doesn't really throw often, it's just because it's not really, doesn't really complement his mix is a curveball. He only has thrown it, I think, like a handful of times this year. But I think the big thing with him, if you look at his starts since April 26th, 38 innings, 28 hits, 8 earned runs, 7 walks, 25 Ks. You know, he's gone 6+ innings in 6 straight starts. He went to the 7th inning this past game against the Mets. We saw him go 7, dominant innings against the Atlanta Braves. I think the big thing I've seen from his, growth is that he's a pitcher's pitcher. He's not looking to overpower you. He is literally getting weak contact. He's letting his defense make plays, and that's allowing him to get deeper into ball games. And I think that, at the end of the day, I think that helps out a pitching staff more. If he's throwing less pitches to get guys out and he's going deep into games, lessening the workload of the bullpen, I think that's the best option you could have for the rotation right now. And I get that he has options. I get that it's the easiest move to make to bring someone in. But I've already been preaching it. Carlos has preached it. We've all said it. A 6-man rotation makes all the sense in the world. I don't know why they won't, just outright do it with the amount of starting, pitchers they have. But I feel like, we see the James Paxton stuff today. It kind of seems like he may be placed on the IL sooner rather than later. Tyler Glasnow, before his start against the Mets, had back-to-back clunker starts. I thought maybe he would be an option to put on the IL to limit his innings. He only won 120 innings last year. That was his career high, and he's well on his way to surpassing that. And Bobby Miller, when he's activated, he's guaranteed to get a role in the starting rotation, at least when he comes back. So over these next couple of weeks and months, leading up to the deadline, I think the Dodgers are going to be showcasing a lot of these arms, because I think by season's end, they're not all going to be here, whether they're not only on the October roster, they may not even be on the club. They may be traded for some actual pieces the Dodgers need, because teams want pitching and the Dodgers have that surplus. So there's going to be some roster crunch in the next week or two when Miller's activated. But like I said, I think Gavin Stone is not the option that they should choose there.
Big shout out to Adrian Rodriguez with a super chat. Dodgers and Philly have not been fully tested yet. It's interesting, Adrian. I saw somewhere where they're saying that the Phillies' strength of schedule is not very impressive, and that their record so far up until this point of the year has been built on the fact that they're beating bad teams. Look, you can only play the teams that are ahead of you. So I'm not going to, and I can't go again. It's May, guys. It's May. Teams may look like world beaters. I'm old enough to remember where the Dodgers look, unbeatable for a huge stretch of time. And then the next thing you know, they can't beat the Reds of Cincinnati. So it's one of those things where it's really, really early. Carlos, I mean, at this point, they won't commit to a 6-man rotation. They don't want to lose the reliever. So an IL stint seems to be coming. You're a gambler, my friend. Who you're putting your money on is going to have an IL stint. Who's going to get tapped on the shoulder and said, hey, man, your shoulder's barking? What?
Right.
It is?
Yeah, it is. So you know what? We did have a bet. Yamamoto pitched Sunday. Cody said he wasn't going to pitch Sunday. I remember that bet.
That's right.
So I smell another bet coming on. I think we should see what's going to happen. I personally think they will go to a 6-man rotation. I think we have too many Ramirez's in the bullpen. We got to get rid of one.
Why do you hate me, bro? I don't get it. What did I do to you?
No, Hernandez will be gone. Hernandez or I think they called up I can't think of his name, but the other Ramirez, not the one that he hugged, but the other one they called him up for the doubleheader.
Nick Ramirez is who.
Oh yeah, Nick. Up. So I think Hernandez will be let go, and when Bobby Miller comes back, I think that they'll go to a 6-man rotation. And then touching on what you guys were saying about the Phillies and the Dodgers, you know what? There's only 6 teams in all of MLB that are 600 and above. They're playing 600 ball, and 4 of them are in the American League, and 2 are in the National League. So there's not that many teams that are playing really good ball. I'm not talking about 500 ball. I'm talking about teams that are really, definitely winning games more than they're losing games. So that's the league. That's how the league's set up now. The league is definitely pretty equal. I mean, it's pretty balanced out. You got pretty good teams, okay teams, and then you got the bottom feeders. But there's so many teams that have the chance to make the playoffs now because of the way it's set up. But yeah, once again, I said 6-man rotation. I think that's my money. My money's on 6-man rotation.
Hey, Canelo, you want to do double or nothing on that one? Win your money back?
I'm going to agree with Carlos. I think they will go to a 6-man rotation. I don't think they're going to outright say it's a 6-man rotation, but with the pitching options that they're going to get back, Phillips is going to be activated on Friday for the Rockies series. Obviously, right there, they have to choose a pitcher who they're going to, release, option or whatever. Miller, like Roger was saying, this guy still needs at least 2 or 3 more, minor league starts until he comes back. And that's looking at maybe, mid-June, maybe first week of June. That'll be interesting to see what they do at the time, but a lot can happen between now and then. But I think eventually the Dodgers will go with the full 6-man rotation, and then once October hits, then they're going to go with the 3 best arms, and then that's what they're going to ride with.
Sangre, everybody. We just got a $50 super chat from Doom Sal. Doom Sal, thank you for your service, my friend. Doom Sal is a firefighter actually fighting the fire. Babyface, where are the fires at? Do you know?
I'm not sure where they're at. I'm assuming they're out by his area because he's in Santa Barbara area, and he said he's out there right now. So stay safe out there, Mike.
Yes.
Yeah. Doom Sal, I'll be back. We're up against the clock, so I do want to touch on 2 topics real quick before we end the show. Princesa, I want to go with you because there was. We'll save that for the next time. We'll save that. I don't want to get you in trouble. So I'm going to save that one for the rest one. So there was a huge celebration at the beginning of the week because Angel Hernandez is retiring as an umpire from Major League Baseball. I'm going to go to you first because you are the princess of positivity, because I feel the when I go to the rest of these guys, it's just going to be a shit show. Your thoughts on Angel Hernandez, and you want to thank him for his service?
I do not want to thank him for his service. And in the channel of keeping it positive, I am only going to say I very much resented that he pulled the Latino card at the end of his tenure to try to save his job. And it's just, bro, you're ruining it. Any chance of going out, on a high with a legacy that he could be proud of. I mean, we're not going to miss him. That's all I'll say. We're not going to miss him.
You know what, Princesa? I think a lot of people that I talk to, that's the first thing. They don't even mention the bad calls or anything. It's the example that you just gave. It rubbed people really the wrong way that he did that lawsuit.
No love, no nurturing, nothing until he needed it, until he needed to be, Latino for his job, to keep his job or to get money or whatever it is. And it's just you ruin it for the people that are affected by racism, classism, ageism, all of that. And I'm not going to get sued by him for libel or anything, right? I'm just going to say that's what it looks like, bro. That's what it looks like. And just ride off into the sunset, enjoy the length of his career that he had, which should have been shortened a long time ago. And if anything, he is a warning to other umpires. And not just that, but the robo calls that are coming. I know Manfred said not till 2026. I'm kind of mixed on that. I don't want it so stringent, but way to slow down the game with planning to use them as the flag. Angel Hernandez should be a warning to up and coming and current umpires how not to do the job. Okay, I'm done. I'm supposed to be positive. I'm so sorry.
Damn. Canelo, I want to follow up because I think the Princesa makes an excellent point. I personally feel that Angel Hernandez was forced out, but is this Major League Baseball actually showing some accountability towards umpires?
I think so. And I immediately texted my friend group chat. I said they definitely paid him severance and gave him a package. And then literally hours later, that's what happened. He took a retirement package from them. I feel like it was just because you saw the growing sentiment around him. I feel like he was unfairly put as the scapegoat of being like the bad umpire. If you ask me, my worst umpire is CB Buckner. I think if you get him behind home plate, you're in for a pitching duel, just because looking at his umpire scorecard just for this season is 91%, which if you want to be a good umpire, it has to be like between that 98 and then like 100%. If you're anything below that, you're missing a lot of calls throughout the game, especially if you're a major league umpire. Hernandez, it goes what Alicia said. I think he lost all his credit when he tried to sue MLB for, racial discrimination, when everybody kind of just looked at him, whether they were, Hispanic, white, whatever. They just kind of looked at him like, no, you're not umping games in the postseason, because after 2017, when in one game he missed 3 calls that all got overturned, then he ended up not umping a postseason game, a single one after that, not a single inning. I think it's good for baseball that they're holding the umpires accountable. It seemed like these guys are like tenured professors. Once they put their time in, they are untouchable. And for the most part, they are. The players have their union. The owners are in their huddle of collaboration, and the umpires also have that as well. They have the umpire union as well, where they protect each other. And they're in a battle because, Juan, I know you talked about it recently, the automated balls and strike system, that is coming sooner rather than later. And I agree with Alicia too. I'm like 50-50 on that. Some part of me likes the human error part of the game. Because then I've seen some minor league games with this system in effect, and there is some clunkiness there. So I do agree with Manfred on that, and I don't think it's ready yet. But Hernandez getting out of baseball right now, it's a big story, and I feel like it's just been a long time coming.
Well, he is a member of the Ump Show Hall of Fame, so congratulations to Angel Hernandez on that. Carlos, I want to go to you because what I have noticed, other than the crazy umpire calls this season, but it does seem that there's a lot younger umpires in Major League Baseball. So I wonder if this is a warning shot to some of these older umpires, like Canelo says, these tenured professors, that it's like, hey, you guys need to step up your game.
The game has evolved a lot, like yourself, Juan, I've been watching baseball since like the late 70s, early 80s. And, the balls move a lot more. The umpires are going to make mistakes. They are going to make mistakes. It's just the ball's moving. Some guys are throwing 102, with crazy break. They're going to mess up. I'm all for the auto robot or auto call for baseball. Look, the game has changed in ways I didn't agree with. I hate the ghost runner. I hate the you can only throw back 3 times to first base per batter. That's such an advantage for the runner. So I don't like it. So if you're changing the game, to make it more exciting, the strikes and balls really have more of an outcome on the game than just more stolen bases, in my opinion. Look, the reason Angel Hernandez has so much, I guess I don't want to use the word hate, but dislike, is because everybody makes bad calls, but he seemed like spiteful. Like he seemed to make the bad calls on purpose. Like I don't like this guy. You know what? Like I just saw one where it was Bryce Harper on the check swing, where I think that's one where Bryce Harper throws his helmet. So yeah, I'm pretty sure. So Bryce Harper check swing, and Angel Hernandez calls him out, and they show the replay. Nothing close to a full swing, and that's when he gets kicked out and he throws his helmet. That's the play. So yeah, that's what I see from Angel Hernandez. That he's spiteful. Forget the I'm not going to even touch on the races that he thought that he was being discriminated for being Hispanic or whatever. Whatever. I don't even know. I've read about it. I don't know too many details about it, but I think that the game has evolved and we need something more consistent than bad calls. And I know it's part of the game, but the game has changed. It's not the same game anymore. If it was the same game, then I say no way. But get rid of the ghost runner, and then I would say get rid of the Autobot or whatever. So, I'm an old school baseball fan. So
poor ghost runner taking strays out of nowhere. Babyface, do you want any last words for Angel Hernandez? You want to say goodbye to him?
No, haven't we all heard that you shouldn't even know an umpire's name, right? You shouldn't. And these are some of the guys that like you actually like. Oh, he's the umpire in that game. Once you hear Angel Hernandez is behind the plate, you're like, oh my gosh, what's gonna happen today? But I don't know why there isn't some type of, you mentioned accountability, but there isn't. I've never heard of anything where actually umpires get fined or anything for having bad games or anything like that, or even suspended for making bad calls, right? I mean, I wish there'd be something more like that. Maybe that would improve umpires' consistency going forward in games to make sure they're making the right call. So I mean, that'd be something to. I mean, I doubt that ever get to
Damn,
that.
babyface, you want to execute him too while you're at it? I
No, I
mean,
mean-
look, if someone makes an error, do you want to shoot them too? I mean, find them.
They should be there. They should be accountable. I mean, for whatever. I mean, I think it would help the game. If they're thinking about robo umps and all this other stuff, well, give them a fine or something to help them. That might persuade them to make better calls. I mean, I don't know, but like you mentioned, I do believe also that he probably was given a little bit something. Hey, it's time to retire. Here you go.
Yeah.
And he walked out.
Yeah, he signed an NDA too to not write a book. Got more money. Like, we get it. We know what's up. It's corporate.
Oh, wow. Okay, last one on our way out here, guys. I don't know if you guys saw this, but the Negro League stats are going to be part of now Major League Baseball, and it seems like Josh Gibson is going to be the record holder. We still don't know yet which one of these records, but Princesa, your thoughts on the fact that the Negro League stats are going to be included in Major League Baseball?
I'm so for it. I'm all for it. I'm so happy, finally. I know it's got a lot of people across the country feeling a certain type of way, which is proof that it should be, this needs to happen. This really needs to happen because I'm a big history fan. Baseball is full of emotion. It's romantic. It breaks our heart. So does this era of awesome, badass ball players who have just been, I don't know, kicked to the curb like they didn't exist, but they did. And their numbers are real and numbers don't lie. So I am very grateful that this step has been taken. And I actually think that this can help heal some of these wounds instead of ignoring and rewriting history like so many people in charge of this country right now would like to do. This is a very small but very important step. I'm all for it. To me, it's bigger than baseball. I mean, that's just my opinion. Can you tell I get excited? But I'm all for it. I will calm down now. You guys could go ahead and give your opinion because we're running out of time.
Canelo, what say you?
I said in the chat before we got on here, I'm 50-50 on it. On one hand, I think Major League Baseball has done a really good job at, promoting the Negro Leagues and the history of all these baseball players that really didn't get talked about until probably the past 10 years. Like, most guys didn't know who these players were, and I think it's a good thing. Like, I've been to the National Baseball Hall of Fame over the past couple of years a bunch. They're promoting them extremely well there. If you play MLB The Show, that's like a huge thing. This year, if you got the deluxe edition of the game, it was based off, the Negro Leagues, and the cover of the game was all those players that we're reading about today. The only thing where it gets a little wishy-washy is MLB said that they've been working on implementing the statistics for the past 3 or 4 years now. So I feel like whoever was looking into the numbers and how would they adjust, to Major League games being played, and then kind of like, because some of the stats will be inflated. The Negro League season was a lot shorter than the MLB season. You kind of got to take that into account. So it kind of makes some of the stats, especially the single season stats, a little wonky, and it is going to offend some people. We're seeing a lot of the baseball greats being dethroned of single season records that they have, like Babe Ruth, Ty Cobb, and other names alike. For me, I don't necessarily really care about many of the old statistics because I look at kind of at an era that they were playing. They really weren't playing together, and they weren't playing the best competition in the world, and sports have evolved so much where I think I'm going to take the players that are playing the past 30 years now than I would in the first couple, centuries of the game being played. So I think it's good for baseball that they're implementing it, and that it makes it easily accessible for, if they're already in Baseball Reference, they're already in Fangraphs. So if you want to look these players up, you can do it right away. But I knew it was going to rub feathers the wrong way, and it's been a huge topic on social media. And some arguments have been made for both sides. So I feel like it's still an open discussion, but I still think it's good for the game. You're mute.
Carlos, what say you?
Oh man. So I told you I was an old school baseball purist. Look, man, it's like so someone brought it up. It's not me. I just looked it up just now. Josh Gibson only had 2,100 at bats. I think if I read it correctly, that you needed about 3,000 at bats to count towards your batting average, right? You know how in the regular season you got to have so many at bats to be the leader. You just can't play 5 games and be batting 1,000 and you're the leader. So, I mean, then you're skewing the numbers a lot by saying this guy only played 2,100. And then, you know what? I'm not knocking the league because I wasn't there, obviously. But what's the level of the competition, So then are we going to say that Ichiro, is Japanese baseball? We give Ichiro 4,400 hits and he's going to be the all-time hitting record? I mean, I don't know. It just changes so much. I know you want to like kind of make everybody happy and kind of like come together moment, but then you're opening a can of worms with all these different things. And you know what? I don't know. I just didn't see anything wrong the way it was before with the stats. And now it's like, it's really skewed in my opinion, with the lower at bats and just, he didn't play against these other bigger players that are all in the Hall of Fame and the MLB. And so it's just, I would say I'm not 50-50. I'm more like 80-20, I guess, and so
you're 80-20 against it.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I like it the way it was before, so that's
Princessa, you're chomping at the bit. Come in here.
Well, no, I should have written down rebuttals to all of this. However, the first thing that I would love to remind everybody is you cannot compare the Japanese league to the Negro League because the Negro League is American. So it's still within our realm. And I love what Don Kim referenced. After baseball was racially integrated, the next 10 plus MVPs were from the Negro League. They were dominating baseball. And there's no wonder why some people wanted to keep them out. And there's no wonder why some people don't want their numbers to ever come out, because it keeps certain people on top, which is part of our history, which is all I'm saying. For me, it's bigger than history. I mean, it's bigger than baseball because it forces us to acknowledge people who have contributed to this country and to baseball. The two things I love that we need to do better. That's all I'm saying.
It's a fascinating Babyface. You want to throw your 2 cents in here?
Yeah, I mean, I would have loved to have those players playing in MLB, right? Everybody else. I mean, just you would have saw like the game would have improved so much better. There'd be so many more players that we'd know about. And like Cody was saying, like I think probably the way baseball is being played, maybe say over the last 30 years, or like say like in Babe Ruth time, like you had a bunch of like plumbers and all these guys, right, that would just go, from their job to go play baseball, right? So how good was the competition back then with those guys, right? Compared to now, I think now the last 34 years, we're getting the best of the best players, right? The 1% of the 1% now. So I think it's going to be totally different going forward now as far as stats. But some of those stats are probably going to be unattainable, like just because the competition at that time, the numbers that they put up just because of the competition maybe wasn't as strong. So, we'll see. I mean, it's good, but, I also see, what some of these guys are saying, like with numbers being skewed, how many at-bats the person had, stuff like that. So, you're always going to have that debate. Yeah. Some people are going to love it. Some people are not going to be for it. So it's, we'll see how time goes and what happens from there.
I do think it's 2 different issues that we're having here because, correct me if I'm wrong, I think you can say that the whole skewing of the numbers, can't you make that argument about today's baseball compared to back then? Because they played more games now here than they did back then. Like there was the big brouhaha between Roger Maris in the home run record because Roger Maris did it in more games than Babe Ruth did for the single season home run record. And I do think the other issue, Ed, here is acknowledging the fact that this was, like Alicia said, this was a competitive baseball league, and including them in Major League Baseball to me seems like it is a recognition that there was another league out there that was competitive. Would guys like Ty Cobb, Babe Ruth, these legends, would they be putting up those same numbers? If not only just counting, I know Alicia said that that's an American baseball league, the Negro League, but the Afro Latinos, if the Afro Latinos were playing there, it is just one of those fascinating arguments where, to me, I just don't understand what the big brouhaha is about it. Like, I don't understand why people are getting upset, because here's my thing. I never saw any of those guys play. So I'm the one that gets pissed off because they're comparing Luis Ariz to Tony Gwynn. That's what I get pissed off about. And I sit there and I go, how dare you, sir? Compare Luis Ariz. But Tony Gwynn Jr. said, he has no problems with Luis Ariz getting compared to Tony Gwynn. We're going to always have this different eras, and I don't think we're ever going to have different answers. But I think, to Alicia's point, I think that's what the important thing is. This seems like there is an acknowledgement of there was another league that was good, and it serves as a reminder that these people were not allowed to play in Major League Baseball. Alicia, did you have anything else to say before we wrap?
Oh, well, you brought up the Afro Latinos, and I just wanted to remind everybody that Ted Williams was forced to hide his Mexican heritage to be able to ride in the front of the bus. So there's a lot that we could learn from our sport. And I'm just saying, let's have that conversation and let's embrace everybody's greatness. I don't see anything wrong with that. I really don't. I've seen a lot of angry people over this, which to me is a signal that we're doing something right. That's how I roll. So
I am fascinated once they do. I want to see what records do get bumped where Josh Gibson goes to the top of the list. I
think he's got the batting average already.
OPS.
Yeah.
Average.
Who did he bump?
Ty Cobb, I think, in average. Right.
OPS, he bumped Babe Ruth, and then in batting average, it was
Ty Cobb, right?
Yeah. Okay, so does that change anybody's opinion about Babe Ruth and Ty Cobb?
No, because it's like the whole thing I said. Every single player of the past 40 years is better than every single player of that generation. So, and that's...
I think what it's going to do, obviously, right, who's Josh Gibson? They're going to go and see and find out who this Josh
that's
Gibson
a good point.
Was, right? And they're going to be like, oh, wow, this guy was really good, right? So I think
Satchel Paige. I mean, the list of history that's been suppressed. I mean, they're great. They're all great. It doesn't take away from someone else's greatness to admit that others were great. Do you know what I mean? Like, the pie is big. The pie is big. Everybody eat.
Exactly. So that's going to do it for this episode, guys. We want to thank.
Before we go,
okay, babe, please. Yes.
2 minutes. I want to upset Cody here.
I already know what you're showing me.
So apparently, this guy was at the game today wearing the City Connect Dodger jersey. I don't know where he got it from, but he was on he got retweeted by was it UniWatch?
They're probably in New York right now, because in the article I wrote for Dodgers Beat, Dodgers have to announce theirs in June, and then they'll wear them, I think, in June.
So it does look like that is the uniform that's going to be announced.
Looks like the D-backs.
Wow. So this is leaked. I think this guy works for Major League Baseball, right?
He's a plant.
Does anybody know who this guy is?
No, I retweeted it. So if you click under the subtweet, like they took pictures of like the neck, the the stuff on the side, the Fanatics Nike logo on the bottom. So it seems legit.
Yeah, but I do think that this is in an age where you have to question whether anything is real. This feels like this was planted out there to get the word out about these uniforms. Like, I think Nike at this point is just all interested in selling these uniforms. So the more people talk about the fact whether you like these uniforms or not, the more people are talking about the City Connect. It's more for them.
Like the leaked Cardinals photo that had players in it, right? That was leaked.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. I believe someone gave that guy that uniform and said, wear it to the game. You're going to get photographed. It's going to go viral. It's a marketing campaign. Okay, so that being said, we're going to wrap things up. I'm going to announce the Danny Duffy Award winner. The Danny Duffy Award goes to Ramirez. That's right, because not only Johan Ramirez and all the other Ramirez that Carlos hates, but on the chat, people wanted me replaced as well. So it looks like the Ramirez took it on the chin on this show. So congratulations.
Hernandez got a lot of there was a lot of Hernandez.
I saw more Ramirez hate. So
and some bets too. I think I remember.
Plus, I want to be a back-to-back Danny Duffy Award winner. So I'm going to give the Danny Duffy Award to Ramirez. Just the Ramirez name, it wins the Danny Duffy Award. For those of you who are joining us for the very first time, please make sure you are subscribed to our YouTube channel. Hit that notification button. Give us a thumbs up. Leave us comments. We love engaging with you guys. As you'll see on the YouTube, we have a lot of different content. We have game content where we're covering pregame and postgame. Babyface is out there covering the Rancho Cucamonga Quakes rehabs. We got interviews with Evan Phillips and Bobby Miller.
And if you want to see that young Korean pitcher, he pitched in the Arizona League yesterday. Our guy Spencer down there sent me some footage from him pitching, so he looked pretty good.
Yeah, so make sure you guys are checking out the YouTube channel. Canelo, what do you want to plug on the Dodger Beat side?
I got a Gavin Stone article coming out tomorrow, kind of going over everything we just talked about, why I think he, deserves to stay in the rotation, more in depth on all of the stats for the year. So just be sure to check out the website for that.
Absolutely. If you're listening to us on the audio portion, please make sure you're subscribed to the podcast. Rate us, write us a review. Again, make sure you're following us on social media at the Bleed Lows podcast account or Dodgers Beat. For Canelo, La Princesa de Picolandia, Carlos the Gambler, and Babyface, nos vemos para la próxima. This episode of the Bleed Lows podcast has been brought to you by Bet Online. The game starts here. Nos vemos.